Hey folks, Jonathan here. Alright, just wanted to show you the 1-ton truck we're putting together. Went and picked it up and run by a couple things here. I'm doing this job in trade for having 31 coupe painted. You know, there's talent and then there's learned talent. I'd say there's talent that people are born with, and I'm not born with the talent of getting something perfectly straight when it comes to body work. And you know, this stuff here you can learn, and I don't know everything about what I'm going to be doing, but what I don't know we're going to learn. But so let me explain to you what the situation is here. So this truck was bought by a man in 1995. Him and his wife owned it and used it, and it was his pride and joy. And he passed away, and his wife passed it on to their son. And then he actually drove it for, I think, about 15 or 16 years himself. And then it caught on fire, and as you can see, the top of the transmission has got some plastic and stuff on it, and it burnt. And then later on, her son passed away. So she is wanting to put this truck together, and it's a friend of mine's girlfriend. They've been together for years and years, and he started on it, and he got it as far as he could get it when it comes to the diesel and the adapter. He's got the starter on, the exhaust done, the intercooler done, the radiator. So he's done a lot, and he's actually put an entire, basically a new front end under this thing. Everything brake wise and stuff's all new. Brake lines, I think they still need to be ran. Yeah, the steel lines need to be ran. So we're going to do all that. We're going to run the steel lines, we're going to run the fuel lines, run the transmission lines. We're going to put a transmission cooler on it. Try to get, he's going to run AC, so I have to run an AC cooler. Let me see, this thing has got a 4080, and the cab that we're putting on, the cab is already painted. So it's a same year, 94, four-wheel drive, just like the cab that was on it. The only difference is it's a half-ton, had a 4L60, this is a 4L80. So we're going to have to do some changing. Probably, like I said, we'll either change the harness in the truck, or we'll go ahead and go with a standalone harness. I've got to wire the engine, get everything hooked to the engine, and hook the gauges up to run, you know, just like it would if it was a factory engine. And so we're going to do, you know, oil pressure, temperature in the unit, everything for the correct for the engine that was in it. And it looks like I can see right there, there's probably the oil pressure and the temperature sending units up there. So I think that's oil pressure, probably running on one of the cam galleys, but we'll make sure. But so there is this was a running engine out of a 97 Dodge, and there was a crank sensor on it that he gave me. I'm not sure why. This is a mechanical injection pump. 97, they didn't go to electronic until mid-year of 98. So it may just be for the tack, I'm not sure, but we're going to find out. You know, that's more stuff I got to learn. Power steering pump's on there. This is going to be plumbed into the steering box. Let me see what else we got. There's a bunch to do. I mean, mostly all little stuff. It gets aggravating because it's time-consuming stuff, but that's just the way it is. And hopefully that plug will be okay on the transmission. But it did, you know, get kind of hot back here. And so the cab we're putting on it, like I said, it's just been painted, so we've got to be really careful with it. I'll take 2 forklifts, go in on each side and pick it up from the lip. Now it's on a half-ton frame, so it'll be easy to lift off and put over to here. But like I said, I don't know everything there is to know about doing this. I've done quite a few swaps and, you know, changing over to all different kinds of engines and stuff like that. I've actually had a Cummins and done a little work on them before, but we'll see what we figure out. Now, all of this bracketry and stuff he bought is added on, you know, to run all the stock stuff and run the Chevrolet stuff too. So, and for some reason the crank sensor don't fit on with this kit. Now I don't understand why, but Anyway, we'll figure it out. It's not a big issue anyway. So nothing on here is going to be a big issue because we're not going to let it become a big issue. We're just going to figure it out and go. And we're getting Nana to scan it for us. You going to CAT scan it for us, Nana? You going to CAT scan it? Hmm? So, and this is, I guess, an extended cab. I looked at the other truck, but it was at a different place. I hadn't seen it in a little while. So we'll go back and get it tomorrow or the next day. And we're going to get this thing, get started and get rolling on this, see if we can get her finished up pretty quick. So, anyway, so I'll show y'all as I go, but here it is, the beginning of what may be an easy job or what may be a terrible job. We'll see. All right, folks, here we go. Didn't film none of this, probably should have, but I didn't. But anyway, cab's off. As you can see, this is a brand new paint job, a really good paint job. It's got a bunch of pollen on it. It's like North Carolina snow. So we got it off, and as you can see, I just used boards with some padding, and used both forklifts, one on each side. That made it a little safer there. We don't want to tear nothing up, especially the fact that this cab has just been painted recently. So, all right, pulled it off this half-ton frame. This truck here is one that they bought. This it had been overheated. The engine was bad. It's got a 4L60, so that's where the harness situation is different. 4L60 plug is on this side, 480's on the other side. Runs different computer, different stuff. I don't even see, yeah, see the 4L80's got 3 speed sensors on it. 2 on the transmission, 1 on the back transfer case. I just see 1 on here. And I don't know if this switch is the same. We've got a switch issue. Anything that got burned on the other one from the fire. So, and I wanted to look at these brake lines, because I may use these brake lines, because I definitely got to use this everything here, and I may use the vacuum brake booster that's on the body, because it's got a vacuum pump on that engine. It wouldn't be hard to run the power steering, and that engine that's in it, the 5.9 Cummins, wasn't set up for hydro boost. It was set up for vacuum brakes. So we may use that. We're probably gonna have to take some well, we're gonna have to take this linkage and some of it, like the let me see, the piece that's in here is burn out. I've got to do the fuel lines, but that's not a high pressure system on the diesel, so we can use clamps and hose on that, and we'll get that right before we put the cab on. So that's what we're waiting on here. That's why I put the cab down on the 55-gallon drums, and that way we can get everything ready on the frame. And once it's all ready, we can then we can roll the frame up under and set it down. So what we've got to do now, I think I'm going to unload this and reload it the other way and bring it up the driveway here. Once we swap it around, I think what I'm going to do is move this frame over here, and then put the other frame in front of the cab, and then we'll start swapping parts over, getting whatever we need to get done ready for setting the cab on. All right, folks, we've got the dually, one of the 1-ton, moved up here and been changing some stuff out. I've got brake lines running on it now. We do have to do one splice on the brake line, so we're going to have to do an inverted flare with a union to join these together, because I didn't want to pull the gas tank or the bed off, and I couldn't get to the fitting good. So I figured it's just as easy to put one on it just like they have here. Just like a factory setup. So we'll do that, and I left it in an opening so we can actually get it after we get the cab on, so it's not a big deal. And I may do it before that, I don't know. I'm not in no rush to get the cab set on, because we've got it on barrels now, and it's in a good spot right now. So let me see, we've got, like I said, brake lines. Do a little bit of changing on them. As you can see there where I leaked everywhere, but because these actually mounted a little different, mounted up towards straight, so I had to do a little bending on the lines, but I mean, they worked out fine. So I'm probably going to try the power brake. This has got a booster, vacuum booster on it, So we're probably going to try that instead. I think it's just going to be easier. I can get my lines hooked in no problem on the power steering pump. So pressure and return. The pump's not made, don't have 2 returns, so it's really not made for the Hydro Boost, but we'll run it and just see how it does. I mean, so that's something that can be changed later if it has to be changed. It's not a big issue there. Speed sensors, I was going to go ahead and buy everything new, but because the situation with a lot of the parts not interchanging and fitting, and we've got, I think what I'm going to do, I've got the parts truck, which is a 94, same year as this dually, except it's 2-wheel drive. It's got a 6.5 turbo diesel, and it's one I bought about a year ago, and it was bought just for parts. So a buddy of mine needs a couple of parts off of it, so I'm going to save that, you know, the bed and the back glass for him. I wanted to hitch out of it, but I don't know if I'm ever going to get to take it out or get to use it or not. What we're going to do, we're going to use the entire wiring harness in this cab. The only difference between the two is this is 4-wheel drive and the other one's not, so we're going to have to figure out our 4-wheel drive light's probably not going to work. We'll have to figure it. We'll deal with it as we go, but I'm going to use the speed sensors. I'm going to take the transmission pan back off and change out the harness. He had the fan off. He said he wanted to check everything, and it's clean and there's no fluid in it. So transmission didn't get that hot. Everything just run down on it. But I won't, like I said, I'm going to change the sensors out, and I've already changed out the switch right here, and we've got to put a vent tube on it. And I've changed the shifter out because the plastic was out of here, and I'm hoping that we're not going to leak on our shaft, but I think there's an O-ring seal farther in, so I don't think it will. And another thing too is the transmission lines are not going to work because they're in a different spot. You know, they go straight in and out on this. I mean, I might could bend them and make them work, but we're probably going to go ahead and buy new lines. Dipstick tube is different on the 4L60 to the 4L80, so we're going to use the one out of the my parts truck. And like I said, if we use the entire wiring harness, I can wire everything in like I want, and that way the transmission will shift like it should. And it's not a terrible job to change that whole harness. So in this one, I don't know if you've seen, I took these wires right here. This is the engine harness and transmission, everything, but this all comes right into the cab and plugs in to the computer and to the harness, the interior harness. So we can just take the other one out just like that, use the entire engine harness and stuff, and then we'll use the inside harness in the cab. And the interior in this cab is really nice. It's the same color as the one that burnt, so that's one of the things they wanted, is it to be the same color interior and be the same. So anyway, we're going to just keep at it, and I'm probably going to get the other truck over here shortly and start pulling parts. All right, folks, speed sensors in. I think I'm going to go get some hose and do these fuel lines. I'm going to run them up the frame and probably pipe them to this brake line, and then come up, and our fuel inlet and our returns right up here. So on the Chevrolet, they ran up the backside of the transmission about to the same place, but the farther we can keep it away from that drive shaft, the better off we are. And the exhaust is on the other side, so there's nothing here that's really going to affect. The only thing we got to make sure we don't get in the way of the steering. We got a steering shaft that's going to come through here. So anyway, that's the plan. I got this truck over here. This is my parts truck. It's a 94 also. Started pulling the harness. I'm going to label some of this stuff, and because we're going to a truck that all the plugs are not going to be the same on it, it's not like it's going to be a plug and play. Some of this stuff we're going to have to figure out as we go. So here is the computer for one of these, and everything in the dash. So we'll take this apart later. It's real easy to pull the wires down through and come out like I did, so that's done. So that's all we're really going to need now is the rest of the harness, I suppose. And then I don't need the light harness. I don't need Well, I'm going to use part of the tail light harness because it burnt part of the way. I'm going to go back and I'll solder the wires together a little ways back. We got a few extra wires here that don't go to here, and they're just running through the firewall, so they're not cut into the harness. The harness is in really good shape in this truck, thankfully. All right, folks, so that's where we're at on it. I'm going to keep changing parts around, and then tomorrow I'll video putting the cab back on, because that's the plan. Is tomorrow it's going to rain Friday, so I got to get this on and get it rolled into the building there so it don't get rained on. So anyway, transmission line, fuel lines, and we can set the cab on. So all right, appreciate everybody watching. Till next time, bye.